Hey there, Four States. Good morning and welcome to your KNEO Community Connection. This is Luke Taylor, and we have actually in the studio with us Senator Jill Carter. She's the senator for the 32nd District here in Missouri. She's actually made a trip out to KNEO Studios to chat with us in person about an event that she has coming up, and that's going to be coming up on November 12th, so that's this weekend. It's going to be from 4:30 to 7:30, and we're going to tell you all about it today. Hey, Senator Carter, thank you so much for stopping by.
Thank you, Luke.
So I've talked to you several times, and I know one of your big emphasis is that you want to help keep the citizens in your area informed. You want to educate them about things that are going on. And you have an event coming up that's really tailored to do that.
Yes. So one of my goals was to try to help people. I'm coming from a perspective as your senator, as somebody who was at the Capitol for over a decade just going up on my own, trying to fight for those things that we always value. We've inherently valued our God-given rights. And it was something that now, being the position that I am in, I'm hungry to help collaborate some of the conversations about what's going on in Jefferson City, not only what goes on in Jefferson City, but how everything kind of works. Because I felt like there was a void in people understanding the process, what some of the roadblocks are to getting some of the good legislation that we want to get passed, to get that passed. Mm-hmm. And then what are some of the hindrances to what we see coming down the pike as far as preserving our pro-life stance and some of those things, some of those rights that we've always had, like our Second Amendment rights are kind of up right now with the initiative petition process. And honestly, our freedom of religion is really under attack right now as well. And I was shocked to learn we had some legislation that we filed this last legislative session, and I was shocked to learn that Missouri is kind of in the middle of the country as far as our religious liberties. Mm-hmm. And so these are some things that we're trying to shore up to make sure that people have access to the information that would help us be able to preserve those rights. And it's just not something that's really we don't talk about it very often. Mm-hmm. And so this is an opportunity for us to kind of gather together. The goal is not to make the decision for you. I'm hoping that what happens is through this collaborative effort with some of our partners like Missouri Right to Life, the First Amendment Partnership, Moms of America, and some of the others, that you're going to be able to understand what the conversations are, what the choices that we have are, and then at the end of the night, you'll feel empowered by the information that's been shared. And
so the night is coming up. It's going to be this weekend, November 12th. That's going to be called the Night for the People. And so some of the organizations you mentioned, they're going to have representatives from there to come to the Joplin Family Worship Center that night, and they're going to be providing lots of information that's going to keep people informed about what's going on in our society and what Missourians need to know about.
Right. No, I'm really excited about this. These are national and statewide powerhouses, so to speak, that have been fighting on the front lines of a lot of these causes. And I would just love for you to come out and meet them and be part of the conversation. We're going to have a Q&A afterwards, just an open mic that helps, I hope, facilitate more conversations. And there's sometimes when you're doing something for so long, people ask questions or have insights that sometimes we don't have. And so that deliberation, I think, will be helpful. Mm-hmm.
So some of the people you have coming out, Kim Fletcher with Moms for America, Katie Fetzer with Empower the Fight, Lance Kinzer, he's with you might have to tell me what he's with.
Yeah, First Amendment Partnership.
First Amendment Partnership. Okay. And he is an attorney.
Yes.
And Susan Klein, and she's with the Missouri Right to Life. And so all these organizations are doing important work, not just in Missouri, but around the country. I remember meeting Kim at an event you had a couple months ago, and she just had an amazing story.
Yeah, no, the work that they're doing across the country, in particularly, they passed some legislation in Texas that would protect kids from pornographic material and things like that. And so some of that, again, is just, okay, we see a lot of the problems. What are some of the solutions, and how do we get together to have these kinds of conversations that are sometimes hard? They're hard conversations to have, but I feel like the more unified we are together on understanding what's going on, then the better we are to combat it and to preserve those things that we inherently love.
Yeah, one thing that Kim really shed a light on for me was that there's just so much going on in our society, in our schools, that 90% of people don't even know about. And yet also, even if we do know about it, sometimes we feel powerless to do anything about it. And Kim Fletcher really showed that there are things we can do to band together as citizens. And so it's important, I think, for people to come and hear this information and bring a friend, invite your pastor, get people involved who care about these things.
So if you're somebody like me who has a passion for our country, who believes that it was divinely inspired, somebody who just doesn't know how to plug in to be a part of the solution, then I would love for you to come, because that's the goal. Is there's a lot of frustration out there. A lot of us don't know what to do. And what I'm hoping to do is shed a little bit of light on some of these issues that we can tackle together.
So tell people what time they need to show up and tell them a little bit more of the information again about this event.
Yeah, so it's Sunday, November 12th. The doors open at 4:30. We're going to start the program at 5 and it'll go to 7:30. And it's there at the Joplin Family Worship Center at 5290 East 7th Street in Joplin.
And so that location, if you've been to KNEO's Listener Appreciation Night, we've held that event out at Joplin Family Worship each year for several years. And so hopefully people are kind of familiar with that, or they've driven past it. And they want to make sure to come on this night, it's November the 12th. And they're going to learn a lot of great information, hear from some really great speakers. I was curious, there's this one here called Empower the Fight, and there's a lady named Katie Fetzer who's going to be speaking from them. What is Empower the Fight?
So Empower the Fight is an organization. I mean, Katie Fetzer, I've heard her speak one time before. What a powerhouse. She is somebody who is dealing with the sex trafficking of children, that issue, and really kind of breaks it down to where it's kind of a nuts and bolts issue. I mean, a lot of us went and saw the movie having to do with
Sound of Freedom?
Yes. The Sound of Freedom. And we went and watched that. I mean, I took a couple of friends several times. But now what we're trying to do is say, okay, how do we take this big issue, break it down to where we can take actionable items to try to help empower our communities? And Katie is the key person on that. Just phenomenal.
And then there's also Lance Kinzer here. So he's with the First Amendment Partnership, and he's a religious liberty attorney. What kind of information do you think he's going to share that night?
So Lance is going to be talking specifically about our religious liberty, kind of how through some city ordinances that are being passed, how that is going to impact directly the curriculum and how the churches can hire. And so that is something that, again, I was really shocked to learn that some of these ordinances are being passed within the cities directly and specifically, and impacting, again, who the church can hire and what curriculum they can use.
Okay. And then also Missouri Right to Life. And I'm not sure exactly what Susan Klein's going to be talking about that night. I do know just because they say abortion's been outlawed in Missouri doesn't necessarily mean that there hasn't been some loopholes people have been exploiting. So
what we're facing right now with a life issue is there have been what they call initiative petitions that have been circulating. And so if you're familiar with the initiative petition process, that's how the marijuana issue got passed in Missouri. So what it is just they file with the Secretary of State. An organization can file with the Secretary of State. They file certain language, and then they get signatures to get support for that language to go on the ballot. And it changes our Constitution. And so this is a heavy topic, but we have seen, I think there's been 13 initiative petitions filed to erode that pro-life stance for Missouri. And if we don't do something this next legislative session, then that more than likely will be on the ballot for the next coming cycle. So,
okay. And then that fight could get real ugly, and we might not like the outcome of that. So,
right. And then you also, with the initiative petition process, we'll just touch this a little bit that night, is our Second Amendment rights. There's also been an initiative petition filed, again, that will change the Constitution, that will erode our rights to our Second Amendment. So a lot of these issues are huge issues that will fundamentally shift the culture of our rights in America and in our state. And so we just want to make sure that everybody's informed and educated and knows what's going on. Well,
especially early on, because sometimes these changes are on the cusp of being made. And people who are more conservatively minded, if they haven't been paying attention to what's going on, they're not ready to fight on that issue. Right. And they're kind of behind the eight ball. Once they finally get, inspired to join the fight and fight back against it, it's too late. Like, there's already too much of the groundwork being laid to make this thing pass.
Right.
And so they just get too far behind and aren't able to catch up.
Yeah. And so I'm glad that you brought that up. That's how we've gotten here in so many issues, right? The marijuana issue, et cetera, et cetera. And so what we are trying to do again is to say, okay, here's some fixes that we're potentially talking about when it comes to the right and the life issue, it comes to our Second Amendment rights, our First Amendment rights. How do we deal with our, what's confronting our kids in our society right now? So we're just going to lay it all out there for everybody to listen to. This is not going to be my solution. These are solutions that are going to be offered up. And then we're going to have an open mic at the end for Q&A. And so we're just going to have a deliberation like the old town hall meetings that we used to have, years ago. And so let people weigh in and we'll determine how we move forward together.
All right. Well, I know it's from 4:30 to 7:30 on November 12th. And I know that might seem like a long time, but I bet it's going to go by quick because people are just going to be receiving so much great information. And I also really appreciate that time for the open mic to where there can be some back and forth and where they can respond to some of this information.
Right. Again, the doors open at 4:30, but things don't start till 5. And so it's 2.5 hours. This is kind of what I tell my kids. It's the length of a movie, And so with so much on the line, it's a late hour for all of us. I think we're all feeling that. And so again, I just go back to, I plead with you to come and bring a friend if you care about where we're at.
Yeah, definitely. And invite your pastor. I put that plug in there too, that one thing that I think you've also helped us understand is that our churches can play a role in seeing some things turn around in our society if they'll just wake up and actually first be informed and then learn what they can do to make changes.
Right. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, the churches and the people of the church, right? And I sometimes preach this to myself, and what power and influence we would have if we left our churches and not got out of our buildings, right? Not leave the church, but or we're out in our communities really just standing and being involved in what's going on. So again, this is just an opportunity I felt like would be for people to be able to plug in and understand a lot of the issues that sometimes keep me up at night. And I'm wondering to myself, if people knew, then my hope is that they'd want to get involved.
Yeah. Well, Senator Carter, thank you for fighting for us and trying to get a lot of these changes made, and especially for just trying to help keep citizens informed. I know that's what events like this are going to do, and it's what you're doing by coming here and talking to us and sharing with our audience today. So, hey, thank you for your time.
Hey, thank you so much.
And one more time, that event, it is Sunday, November 12th. Doors open at 4:30. You'll get started at 5, last till 7:30. You'll hear from Katie Fetzer with Empower the Fight, Kim Fletcher with Moms for America, Lance Kinzer with First Amendment Partnership, and Susan Klein with Missouri Right to Life. And it's going to be a really informative, great night for the people. And so this has been Luke Taylor, and that's your KNEO Community Connection.